Hello, welcome to BHA's Central Registry Opioid Treatment Program training. My name is Amanda Tyler, and I'll be leading the training today. So first, I'm going to go over some slides that will talk about Central Registry and how to use the system. And then at the end of the slides, I'm going to pull up a test version of Central Registry to show live some of the features that I've talked about. In the slides today, we're first going to go over onboarding, admitting and discharging, some other features, and pulling reports. I hope that by the end of this, you'll feel confident in your ability to use Central Registry, and you'll also have a clear understanding of where to go for support when needed. As a reminder, these slides are also available on BHA's website, as well as some other training materials, so feel free to take a look at those at any point. So some of this information you might likely already know, but I'm just going to go over it quickly so we have a shared understanding. Central Registry is an automated system used to admit and discharge opioid treatment program clients built within the ComCare system. BHA has partnered with ComCare to build out Central Registry, and Central Registry is just a system that is housed within the ComCare platform. BHA has Central Registry because it is federally mandated that states maintain an OTP Central Registry. Prior to Central Registry being created, people used to have to email Colorado's statewide opioid treatment program authority, Ryan Mueller, every time somebody new needed to be admitted. So as you can imagine, that resulted in a lot of back and forth emailing and a lot of client wait times as well. So this Central Registry system should make that process much easier and simpler. Users of Central Registry include OTP staff that do admissions or intake, front desk personnel, and data and technology teams to admit and discharge clients. BHA staff use it to monitor OTPs and resolve admissions conflicts, which we'll talk about a little bit later. If you ever need Central Registry support, you can send an email to this cdhs_BHA_provider_ This inbox is monitored Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. It is super helpful if you include Central Registry in the subject line, as the team does assist providers with some other systems that we have. So this just helps us know right away what system you need help with. BHA's OTP program team, they also monitor client admission and lock and edit requests Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. In terms of how data is being used, it's used by BHA employees to validate that OTP clients are only enrolled at one OTP at a time to avoid duplicate dosing. OTP users of Central Registry can only view clients enrolled in their OTP and conflicting admissions. High-level data that does not include PHI or PII is sometimes used to do analysis on Colorado OTP usage for program improvement. Some key terms here that I'm going to mention throughout. When I say client, this refers to a participant in an OTP program. When I say user, this is someone who has access to the Central Registry system. There are two different types of users. There's a single clinic user, which is somebody that's only assigned to one clinic location, and a multi-clinic user, which is someone assigned to multiple clinic locations. In regards to user maintenance, right now, to add or remove users to existing OTP clinics and locations, we ask that you send us an email. In the future, there will be an admin level OTP account that will allow managers to add and remove their staff accounts. OTPs are responsible for informing BHA's technology team every time a user needs to be added or removed from Central Registry at this time. For new OTP clinics or locations, we ask that you contact Ryan Mueller to get the onboarding process started for those new clinics or locations. So after watching this recording, you should receive an invite to the care coordination platform to set up an account, and this is sort of a screenshot of what it will look like. As part of that onboarding or account setup process, you will have to do two-factor authentication. So just make sure that you set this up when you are creating an account. And as a reminder, every time you log into Central Registry, you will have to do the two-factor authentication as well. All right, so at a high level, this is what the process for admitting clients with the integration of Central Registry might look like. Let's say a new client wants to enroll with your OTP. You perform your organization's normal admission process, and then you do a review and admission within Central Registry. At this point, there's two different pathways. One is you'll see that the client is not enrolled anywhere else, and you can proceed with admitting the client. The second is that after you search for them, you might see that the client is enrolled at another OTP, and at that point, you'll have to do a request admission review from BHA before you can admit them. So looking at the first option, admitting a client, you'll be logged into Central Registry and you'll want to go to the Search and Admit Client feature. From there, you'll enter in the search information using their first name, last name, and date of birth. Something important to note is that a client will remain admitted within your facility until the point that they will no longer be coming to your facility. Maybe they move out of state or want to start going to a different OTP program entirely. This is a system that you do not need every single day that a client comes in. You do not need to admit and discharge them. It's really intended to be the first time that they come, you admit them, then you leave them within the system until that point in which they will no longer be coming to your clinic. After you've entered in their information and searched for them, and if no results are returned, that means that there are no active records in the system that match the info that you entered. Then you can proceed with clicking on the Admit New Client and answer some additional questions. The screenshot on the right shows what that will look like. It'll include all of the patient information that you entered into the search field, and then there's a couple of additional questions. If you only have access to one location, then you will not get the question, where would you like to admit this client? That will only appear if your agency has multiple locations and you have access to multiple locations. After you've answered the rest of the required questions and you click on Submit, a green box will appear letting you know that the record has been saved. If you wanted to go back and double check to make sure you did this right, you can navigate to the Search My Clients button. And then from there, you can enter in their information, click on Search, and their status should show as admitted. Let's say that when you go to search for the client and results are returned, this means that the client might already be enrolled at another OTP or have an active lock status. So there's a couple of extra steps you need to take. The screenshot on the right shows that you are trying to admit a client named Ronald McDonald. There might be a potential match for the same name and same date of birth, but at a different location. If you would like to proceed with admitting them, you can click on this Request Admission Review. From there, once you click on Submit, it will go to the BHA to review the duplication, and now the client will appear in your pending requests. So clients who have a Request Admission Review, like I said, can be found in this pending requests. Once you submit this, BHA has to approve or reject the request. And then once BHA approves or rejects it, it'll come back to you to take the final determination and next step. And again, this person will show up in your pending requests. And this will make probably a little bit more sense when I show it live as well. So at a high level, this is what the process for discharging clients with the integration of such Central Registry might look like for your OTP. Let's say a client is being discharged from your OTP. You perform your organization's normal discharge process. Then you can discharge the client within Central Registry. What that looks like is you're going to be logged into Central Registry. You'll navigate to the Search My Clients button. You'll enter in their information and search for them. And then once you click on the client, you'll be taken to a page where you can navigate to the discharge client option. From there, there'll be a couple of additional questions that you'll need to answer before you can submit it. If you want to double check and make sure that you discharge them correctly, you can go back into Search My Clients, enter in their information, and then their status should show as discharged. So some clinics will have the option to lock in or lock out clients, and this is really for clinics that have multiple locations within Colorado. So there might be some situations where you need to lock a client in or out of your OTP. Locking a client in means that they can only visit a specific OTP. Locking somebody out means that the client cannot visit a specific OTP. The reasons for which you would need to do this are up to your clinic. If you needed to do this, you can find the client under Search My Clients and then navigate to the Update Lock Status Requests. If you submit one of these, it will get sent to the BHA to review, and then it'll get sent back to you to take that final determination as well, which will, this individual show up in your pending requests. If you ever need to edit client information, maybe you entered in their name or their date of birth wrong, you can also go back and update their information by searching for them and then going to the Update Client Information request. Similarly, if you need to go back and update or correct any information in the admit discharge history, you can do that here as well. Both of these options, if you need to do them, will also have to be approved and reviewed by the BHA before they will come back to you for the final step. Again, as a reminder, when the BHA has to approve these requests, the individuals and clients will show up in your pending requests folder. So there are email notifications, so users will be notified when a change has been made in the app that requires their attention or for them to take action. The items listed here are the reasons in which you would receive an email notification. So as I mentioned before, when you need BHA to approve or deny something, once BHA has taken that step, it'll get sent back to you and that person will show up in your pending requests. You will receive an email notification for those instances. So you don't need to be waiting around within Central Registry and double checking that kind of pending request folder. You can just wait for that email notification, which will provide you with a direct link to take action. If you ever need to print something for whatever reason, there is a little hamburger black menu in the top right corner where you can print or save as a PDF onto your computer. Users will also have the option to pull reports. These are reports made from Tableau dashboards containing tables and graphs that display data related to client admissions and discharges. So the reports menu is up in the top and there's different options that you can look at there as well. As a reminder, users can only pull data from clinics that they are assigned to, so users won't be able to see data from other clinics. There is one specific report called a census reconciliation that you might be asked to pull by BHA's OTP team. And this is looking at a reconciliation between your electronic records and Central Registry. If you are asked to pull this report, you can navigate to the reports menu and then scroll down to the census by client. Again, you may not be asked to do this, but if you are, this is how you can navigate to that. Central Registry is an online platform and therefore may go down at times, although very infrequently. If this happens, we work as quickly as possible to get it back up and running. We do ask that if you think the system might be down or you're having troubles accessing it, to please send us an email as soon as possible. We often don't find out that systems are down until users of the system, like yourself, are using it or trying to access it. If Central Registry is down, we recommend consulting nearby OTPs as needed to ensure that dual enrollment is not a concern prior to admitting new patients. We also ask that you keep a record of admits and discharges, which then when Central Registry is back up, we will ask you to enter those back in. And if that occurs, you do have the ability to adjust the admission date and time as well. So make sure to just keep that in mind if you are needing to keep a record of it, to write down the date and time of when they are admitted or discharged so you can update this correctly in Central Registry. So these are some important navigation reminders. I'm going to talk about these live, so I'm going to skip this talking about this slide right now. But again, you can always revisit the slides. They are available on the website. And then same for this last one. This provides instructions for how to update dispensed medication. I will talk about this live, but feel free to visit the slides as well in the future if you need instructions for how to do this. All right, so now I'm going to pull up Central Registry and I'm going to pull up our sort of test account so that I can show you what this looks like. All right, so now I am logged into Central Registry. Something to keep in mind is that the menu defaults to being hidden. So in the top right corner, there is this show full menu option. When you click on that, that will expand the menu in the top. This is where reports are located. So if you click on that, you'll see the different reports that you have available to you. And then the census reconciliation one that I mentioned is the census by client here. If at any point you find yourself sort of lost and you're not sure how to get back to this page, just remember that you can either click on this little icon in the top corner. There's also the menu option and then the web apps as well. So I'm going to log into Central Registry. And these are the options that you will see when you first log in. Something to note here is that search and admit client and search my client, they look and sound kind of similar. The main thing to keep in mind is that search and admit client is really for somebody that is new, that is needing to be admitted. And search my clients is for people that are already admitted or discharged within your clinic. So I'm first going to show the process for admitting a client. So I'm going to go to search and admit client, and I'm going to enter in name here. So first name, last name, I'm going to enter in a date of birth. And then social security number, this is not a required field, but if you do not enter the social security number, you just have to select the reason for no social security number. No information is done in terms of the social security number and providing that. It's really just more so for patient matching in case you have individuals that have similar names, similar date of births. It's just another way to be able to differentiate clients. The last one here is just saying that you obtained consent for the purposes of searching Central Registry. And then I'm going to click on search. This is telling me that there are no potential client matches and I can proceed with admitting the client. So I'm going to click on admit new client. And then all of the client information that I entered into the search has been pulled over. There's some additional questions I need to answer. This is for the location. Again, as a reminder, if you only have access to one location, you should not get this question. This should only pull up for people that have access to multiple locations. The admission date and time will automatically pre-stamp, and then I'm going to select the medication and click on submit. After I click submit, this green box appears saying that the admit client is successfully saved. If I want to double check and make sure that I did this correctly, I can go to search my clients and I can enter in the name and then click on search. And here I can see under currently admitted, the status shows as admitted. Let's say that a couple months from now, this client wants to leave and I need to discharge them. I'm going to navigate to the Search My Clients button, enter in their information, click on Search, and then find the client and click on them. And then from here, I'm going to go to Discharge Client. And in this instance, I'm going to say maybe they completed treatment. It will automatically pre-stamp the date and time, and then click on Submit. Perfect. The green icon up here shows Discharge Client successfully saved. If I want to, again, go and double check and make sure that I did that right, I will go to Search My Clients, enter in the name. And something important to take note of here is that under this required admission status, it automatically selects active. So let's say Tim Howard, I just discharged him. If I click on search and this is set to active, that client will not show up. Because they are discharged, it means that they are now inactive for the status. So I would recommend that you get into the habit of anytime you use this Search My Clients to changing the status to be all. And now when I click on search, Tim Howard shows up. The currently admitted status shows as discharged. Let's say that I need to go back and edit some of his information. Maybe I entered in his name wrong, or when I was doing the admit, I selected the wrong medication. I can go and select his name. And then from here, you can navigate to the update client information request if you need to, again, update any of his information. And or if I needed to update the admit or discharge history, I can do that here as well. As a reminder, these three options that are showing on your screen, if you select one of these and you submit it, BHA has to approve it, and then it'll come back to you before sort of that final step will be taken. So it's what I call a three-step process. You submit it, BHA has to approve or reject it, and then it'll come back to you to take that final determination. So let's say in this instance, I want to go back and update the medication. So I'm going to click on Admit Discharge History. Then I'm going to click on the specific admission date. So obviously a client could have several admits and discharges, and those would be listed here if that was the case. This client only has one, so I'm going to select this one. The top just provides kind of a summary, and then it asks, do I want to edit this client's information? I'm going to say yes. And then it specifically asks, what fields would you like to edit? I want to edit the admission info. I'm going to select the date of the admission, and then select controlled dispense medication. It will select the medication. It'll automatically show the medication that you selected when you admitted them. I want to change it to this medication. And then this is asking which of your clinics do you want this edit request to belong to. Again, if you only have one location, this question should not appear. And then explanation for requested change. You don't have to fill this out, but it is probably good practice to do that, especially if it's changing medication. I'm just going to say accidentally selected wrong medication, and then click on submit. So now this request is going to show up in the pending requests button. You can see here the request, Tim Howard, the status shows as pending. And so BHA has to approve or reject that, and then it'll come back to you in the same location to take the next step. All right, so that concludes the training that I have for you today. Thank you so much for attending, and as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need additional support.